Hey YouTube, I hope you're all doing well, and yes, I'm alive. I always say that I'm gonna start posting more and more, but I just don't have the time or the headspace, but hopefully, and I always say this, I hope this is gonna change soon. So anyway, back in March, Vanessa and I went on a trip to the Azores, and we had a blast. And basically the Azores are an archipelago off the coast of Portugal, and it's known for its green pastures, really big and beautiful volcanic lakes, and depending on the island, which was the case here, like these really big volcanic craters. It just looks dope, and we've been wanting to go there for ages, and we finally decided to book the trip, and off we went. I shot a bunch of photos using my medium format camera, the Bronica ETRS, which you've seen on the channel multiple times, and I shot a bunch of film. I had a really hefty lab bill, and I'm basically still financially recovering from this, so yeah, there's that. I just wanted to share. We had a bunch of spots that we wanted to visit in the Azores, and one of them, which was one of the most that we are like really hyped for, was this abandoned hotel in the São Miguel Island, which by the way is where we went to. I'm doing a terrible job at this. Anyway, this was an abandoned hotel that sits right in front of this gigantic volcanic lake, and yeah, it looks super dope. It's abandoned, it's super decayed, the architecture looks so cool as well, and because there's a lot of like concrete on the outside of the building, with all of the humidity from the area, also being an island, right, it sits in the middle of the ocean, with all the nature taking in, and the fact that the roof collapsed and it pretty much rains outside and it's like moist and damp in there. Everything's really dark gray and greenish now, looks a bit dystopian actually, which is super cool and right down my alley. We landed on the island that same day, like really early in the morning, and actually weren't planning on visiting anything the first day because we barely slept the night before, and yeah, the weather was nice, and we were recommended by the guy at the airport where we got the rental car from that we should actually visit Lagoa do Fogo, which is the place that we went to, because there were no clouds on that day, and the guy said you should really like go there today because the weather here is so unpredictable, and that location is so high up in the mountain that it's pretty much covered in clouds all the time. So I guess we just took the guy's advice and grabbed the car, went to the center area of Ponta Delgada, which is like the main town in the São Miguel Island, had some breakfast, and just added to that location straight away. As I said earlier, it rains inside the hotel, and like going up the stairs to the roof while stepping on old mushy carpet wasn't that pleasing. However, I think it was 100% worth it. Like once you get to the top and are presented with this view, nothing else matters, I think. Safe to say that this location was awesome and we really enjoyed it, and I didn't know like exactly what to expect. I just really wanted to go there, but it was definitely better than I'd imagined. It was super cool, and I definitely recommend you going there if you ever visit the São Miguel Island. So after leaving the hotel, we grabbed lunch from a food truck just outside the hotel location and decided to head down to the lake we'd just seen from the hotel's rooftop. However, I didn't film much because I was driving. However, we did stop on the side of the road to take pictures of these cows. And by the way, there's a gazillion of them in the islands. It's crazy. Anyway, these shots didn't turn out exactly how I hoped they would. However, I think they're fine, and these are nice memories to have from the trip. And like, I do like all the greenery that I mentioned earlier in the video in the background, and I think what's missing from this image is a bit more zoom. However, this wasn't possible because I was using the 75mm 2.8 on the Bronica, and I couldn't get closer to the cows even if I wanted to. Otherwise they would have ran away, and that road was sketchy as to just be hanging around taking photos, so this was the best I could do at the time. We then continued our way down and found a nice secluded spot by the lake where I took photos of more cows. Yes, more cows, I told you they're everywhere. And from a couple of other interesting scenes. There's like these cool local houses with interesting architecture. Because they're by the lake, I assume that's the water rises when it rains. So a bunch of them are on stilts. So that's always cool to take photos of. And yeah. I also spent some time just by the water with Vanessa, taking in the view and obviously taking more photos. And I really liked this location as it barely had any people, which was great. This was like at the end of a really tiring day. Having no people at this location was nice. Like there were people there, a few of them, but they were in the distance. You couldn't even like listen to them or anything. Remember when I said that we were quite lucky the day before to have an open view, no clouds, no nothing, like great visibility? Well, the following morning we took breakfast at the place we were staying at, went up the mountains again, but visibility was terrible as the island was covered in this like really thick dense fog, which looked super moody and cool, but didn't allow for like any cool landscape photos because you couldn't see anything in front of you. Like it was also super dark, and I decided to switch from color film to black and white because it's much safer and black and white looks amazing on foggy days, so yeah. I did stop at a few other spots that I had on my list, however there wasn't much I could shoot in those conditions, and it was also raining. Of course it was raining, like it was super cloudy, so yeah. Let's just say the Bronica isn't exactly weather sealed. Yeah. I did try and play around with a few compositions at this spot, but like it wasn't meant to be. So further up the road, and after driving amidst like the clouds for a few minutes, I did catch a glimpse of an open field on the side of the road and decided to park the car in the first available spot. You've got a photo here. And I just decided to walk down the road, and I wanted to get a better view of this composition, and like bear in mind it was raining, foggy. I parked the car on this really sketchy location because there were no parking spots on that road. I don't know, it was a rental. I saw a spot, parked it there, Vanessa stayed in the car, and I just went outside. Like, I found this really cool composition, and I just wanted to understand if it was worth shooting it and worth exposing the Bronica to that weather. And I think it was, but let me know your thoughts. I think this is definitely one of the best photos I've taken on this trip, and I think it's crazy how the composition in itself is so simple, yet the lights and the fact that I was shooting in black and white just aligned perfectly to create this image. And there was a gate just by the road that gave access to this piece of land, and I basically decided to shoot a couple of different compositions, like one standing right by the gate and shooting this, I think it was a hay feeder. I wanted to center frame it and I wanted to sort of like isolate it in the frame, and I also played around with including the gate in the photos, although I quite like both compositions. I think this first one is definitely the winner for me here. And what else? We did drive around a bunch more on that day, but I didn't take much photos as the light was bad and the fog insisted on not going away, at least on that side of the island, so yeah. A bit later that day, the weather cleared and we decided to head to the opposite side of the island to visit a natural pool that I found on Google Maps, and it looked quite promising, and yeah, we just wanted to go there and take pictures. I wasn't able to grab as many photos at this location as I wanted to because people just kept coming and going. It was like lunchtime or just after lunchtime, and the composition was definitely too busy for my liking because these natural pools are right like at the edge of the islands, and they're natural pools because like this is ocean water that just fills the pool. So I wanted to take pictures of the pool because it had these like really nice colors, but I also wanted to isolate it with the ocean in the background. And if I had people in the photos, I think like the photo would have turned out okay, but that wasn't my vision. I wanted it to just be minimal, no people. Yeah. From the few photos that I took there, I got these ones that you're probably watching right now, and I also took this one of Vanessa, which I really like. We then headed out to visit Lagoa das Furnas, which was super cool, and we got to see the famous openings on the ground where volcanic water is always like boiling and makes for this dense and smoky atmosphere which looks quite cool in my opinion. And what else, like the smell is a bit bad though, as it stinks of sulfur constantly, but it's totally worth it in my opinion. I also found a few compositions around the lake using these paddling boats, these canoes, whatever, that were just conveniently sitting on the lake's shore, and I quite liked the color and the contrasts in these scenes, and the light was really dull, so that pop of color from the boats I think gave a nice touch to the photos, I think. Okay, so this next location wasn't planned at all, and I accidentally found it the next morning whilst driving up the mountain to try and shoot at another location on my list actually. And I'd realized I'd actually driven past it the morning before, but it was so foggy that I could barely see like in front of me, and I couldn't even see anything on the sides of the road, like nothing. So yeah, I was super surprised that I found this location by accident on that day because I loved it. Its location was also like super quiet. There wasn't anyone there, which was awesome, and there were no other tourists around, so I spent quite some time there just wandering around and taking photos. There was this really beautiful tiny lake, like a pond, whatever, I don't know how you call this, and it was surrounded by trees, and I could hear the frogs in the distance and the birds that were like hiding in the trees. And I then decided to walk around a bit, and I found something that I thought would make for an interesting subject, which was this pile of old truck beds and a door panel from a car just randomly left there to rot, and the decay and rusty look on these pieces provided this really nice contrast and this really interesting color against the background, which definitely got me interested. So I took a few photos of this scene, and yeah, let me know what you think of this, because I quite like them actually. This was super random. So the next morning we headed down to another natural pool that I wanted to photograph, and we were quite pleased with the fact that it was so empty and quiet, which makes sense as this is not like a hotspot and it's on the opposite side of the busiest area of the island where the main city is, Ponta Delgada. And like the weather on this day was great, the location allowed for some really nice photos, and I also managed to take a photo of this lady that was sitting at the edge of the pool, and she had her feet in the water, and I thought that her outfit was quite colorful, and I thought this would make for an interesting subject. So yeah, there was no one around, and I think I managed to isolate her quite nicely, even though she was by herself, but I think it gives out a nice sense of isolation, hopefully. We reserved the last day on the island to go shopping for souvenirs for the family and friends, and we visited one of the Azores famous pineapple plantations, which is called Ananas Arruda, and I took a bunch of photos there. They're nothing spectacular, it's just a few photos to look back and to remember in the future. But I like the compositions, they're quite nice, but nothing groundbreaking. And I also wanted to visit a local tea factory called Gurriana, and this one's impossible to miss when you're driving by the area, as the tea plantation completely reshaped this side of the island, and it's got this really nice lush green colors and interesting line formations, and it's definitely worth giving a visit. The entry is free, and you also get to taste some really nice local tea that they produce, and they have available there for you, and it's free. It's a nice place to visit, there's plenty of parking, so why not go there? The rest of the day was quite calm, and we basically just headed back to the place where we were staying at around 5 PM and had a drink whilst watching the sunset, and made our way back home the following morning. So this is gonna be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely need to become more regular with posting. I have a few videos on my backlog, I need to edit those, and I just need to find a way to balance my work life and YouTube, because I really enjoy making these videos, not just for you, I really enjoy the process of going out, filming them, editing them, and it's just another outlet for me to express myself as an artist. So, and I love engaging with you, my community as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the photos that I took, the footage that I got. I hope you're still there and haven't fallen asleep with me talking this much. And if you like the video, please drop a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Liking the video definitely helps me with the algorithm, and God knows I need all the help I can. No, I'm kidding. I'm just over 1,000 subscribers, and I'm super grateful. Thank you so much for sticking around, even though I don't post nearly as much as I should, or nearly as much as I wanted to, but anyway, I've already mentioned it a few times. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.